My name is Sherilyn Flowers. I am 50 years old. I have two amazing children. I have been an Adventist all my life. Grew up third generation Adventist. I am the vice principal currently at Eden High School, but I've been a teacher for the past 30, this is my 30th year. I believe that we're never going to be perfect until we reach heaven, but of course we strive each and every day to be the best version of ourselves. And as we continue growing that relationship with God, the closer we get to Him, the better we become. And that's just my daily prayer, that every day I be a little bit better than the day before. But I have always felt that I am God's only child, like literally. I'm like, He loves me like there's a song I used to sing growing up, He loves me like I was His only child. Well, that's how I feel. And from as far back as I could remember, I can see God just working things out for me in my life. And even in the bad moments, good and bad moments, I have just seen God work. So yes, I certainly believe in divine intervention. I believe in miracles, and I believe that every single day of life is a miracle. I've experienced many miracles, but the most recent one, it just goes to show how God leads. You know, I remember 3 years ago, my friend and coworker got sick, and she was diagnosed with cancer. And unfortunately, within a year, she passed away. And I remember that just weeks before she passed away, I was taking a shower one day, and I was bathing and I felt something, and I was like, wait, this isn't normal. I haven't felt this before. And so I was like, but you know, she was going through her thing and I was there to support her, so I wasn't even worried about myself. And then I remember feeling it again the next day and the next, and I'm like, you know what? If I tell my mom, she's gonna freak out and she's gonna start worrying. If I tell my kids, they're gonna start worrying. So who can I call that will, you know, and God always leads. So I called my estranged husband, and I'm like, you know what? I feel this thing in my breast. I said, and I've never felt it before. And he's like, so what are you waiting for? When are you going to go see a doctor? So I said, you know what? Let me listen to him. So I remember I said, I will definitely go. My friend died the same time, funeral and everything. So I had to put everything off. And then 2 days after her funeral, I went to Belmopan. I made the appointment. I went to Belmopan and I did a mammogram and a pap smear and some other tests. And unfortunately, the mammogram was inconclusive. So they sent me to do a whole pile of ultrasounds and other tests and everything else. And I was like, oh my goodness, what's happening? And, you know, within a month or so, that was April, I found out I was diagnosed with cancer. And so that was kind of a hard blow for me because, you know, everybody around me had been getting cancer, and so many of our students, their parents, and even one of my past students, had been diagnosed with cancer, and I saw the struggles that they were going through, and I was like, Lord, why would you let this happen to me? You know, why me? And then after that, you know, the first 2 weeks were just horrible. You think you're gonna die, and you start worrying, and then I said, you know what, I'm gonna put this in God's hands. And I remember, you know, I had been praying and everything for those days and those 2 weeks when I was doing all these tests and just spending money. And after those 2 weeks, I just said, Lord, you know what, take it over. I'm not going to worry about this. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not going to fret anymore. You just take it over. And since that day, God just gave me the peace that I needed. I didn't worry about it. I'm like, Lord, my life is in your hands. Whatever happens, happens. And I was surprised that, you know, God just led all the things that I had to do. It was like, I didn't know what to do or where to go. And just one by one, God just said, do this, do this, do this. And I did all of that. I consulted so many doctors here in Chetumal, foreign doctors, and did all the tests and everything that they had asked me to do, and I was recommended to do a mastectomy. And God just led me to the doctor. Like, I didn't even know which doctor. I was going to do it in Chetumal, and God led me to the doctor that was supposed to do it. And it was a private hospital. I got the finances, and I did the mastectomy. And after that, well, I was on leave. I had waited until my daughter's graduation. After the graduation, I waited 2 more weeks to do it, although I should have done it before. But I didn't want to ruin my daughter's graduation at that time, so I just waited. And after her graduation, I was able to, 2 weeks after I finished all my work here at school, and then I did the mastectomy, and I was off for a couple of months, just in time to come back for the new school year. And then, of course, you have to do all the follow-up tests and everything. And so I did those. Those came out okay. And then I remember, the doctor, my oncologist, he was an American oncologist, and he was like, okay, you need to do chemo, you need to do radiation. And I'm like, God didn't make our bodies for that. I'm not going to do that. And he's like, you have a better chance of living if you do all of that. And I'm like, you know what? I won't do that. I saw what my past students and parents had gone through, and I'm like, no, I am not going to do that. And so I consulted with my children first of all, and I said, you know what, this is the situation. The doctors are saying I need to do chemo, I need to do radiation, and probably brachy therapy after that. I said, but I don't want to do it. And they agreed with me. They were like, if you don't want to do it, then, I said, I will not live a day longer or shorter than God has ordained. Nobody can take my life away. When God says it's time, it's time. And so I didn't do that. And about a year after, I was doing my routine checks every 6 months. And the doctor noticed something under my arm. So again, I had to go through all the biopsies and everything else. I did those in Chetumal, did repeat tests here just to confirm. And then I was recommended to do a second surgery. And I did the second surgery last year. And thankfully since then, I haven't even worried. I haven't even gone to do any tests or anything. I feel fine. I'm just trying to follow the health principles that I know. Be careful of what I eat and make sure I don't eat processed foods and everything else. And so far, I feel good, and I'm thankful to be alive. I think if I had done the chemo and the radiation, I would have been dead, because like so many people around me, as soon as they finished chemo and radiation, like within months they were dead. I mean, like students, parents, and my past student, I watched them die after chemo, after radiation, after brachy therapy. And I just decided, Lord, this will be a testimony. You will decide what will happen. And long story short, 2.5 years later, I'm still here. I'm so thankful, because through all of that, it was a very costly experience. In those 2 years, I spent over $30,000, but not one day my kids and I went hungry. It was just, my mom used to always say from the time we were young, I grew up seeing my mom and dad give to everybody, like help everybody. And they used to always say, cast your bread on the water and it will return to you. And I followed their example throughout my life. I always tried to help people, help a lot of students, not for praise or anything, but that was just me from what I saw them do. And so it was amazing that at that time, the amount of people that, without me even asking for a single cent, that came through for me. And thankfully, I didn't have to borrow any money. I didn't have to go do any sales or anything, because God provided everything that I needed. He always proves himself. So I saw, and those are just some of the miracles. I've seen miracles, with my daughter, one recently that was like, I was fighting with God, and I'm disappointed in myself for that one, because I've seen so many miracles in my life that I should not have doubted God. So my daughter was studying at St. John's. She did her associate's degree, and she wanted to do a bachelor's degree, and several doors had closed. we couldn't see an open door. And St. John's, the university, for her to do the bachelor's program was $5,000 a semester. So I was like, Lord, I can't afford $5,000 a semester. I cannot afford $5,000. I said, maybe she'll have to go and work at a call center or something. Not what I would want, of course. But I said, I can't afford $5,000. So I kept praying and praying. And I know people were praying with me. I forgot to open a door for her. And time was going, she was there graduation day, and I'm like, Lord, I'm there in the graduation. And my dad asked me, so what's next for Kaya? And I was like, I don't know. I said, and so many people have asked me that, and I'm tired of saying, I don't know. And he was like, okay, have you thought of this and this? I said, yes, I've thought of everything, but I don't have the finances to do none of those things. And so here we were sitting in the graduation, and I'm angry, and I'm like, God, I said, don't tell me you're just going to bring my daughter to this point and just leave her there. And so we were there, and I was fighting. I was having a mental battle with God that was crazy. I feel so bad about it now. I'm like, I can't believe I distrusted God that much in that moment. And I was telling him, Lord, please, I've been praying and you haven't been answering. Tell me, show me, what am I supposed to do? What is my daughter supposed to do next? And within 5 minutes, the president of the St. John's University got up, and she said, we have a special award to present today. We are honoring a student with the President's Scholarship to continue the bachelor's program at the St. John's University. It is an award of $20,000 to cover the two years of school fees. And they said, and this award goes to Kaya Flowers. Well, I cried my heart out right there in the graduation. And Kaya didn't move either. She was like, and I'm texting her, and I'm like, girl, they called your name. And she's like, no, it can't be me. I'm an Adventist in a Catholic school. There's no way I can get that scholarship. And that's a president's award. That's like the most distinguished scholarship the school gives. And she's like, no, it can't be me. So she didn't go up. And then her teacher goes to her and says, Kaya, why didn't you go up? They called your name. And she's like, no, miss, it can't be me. There must be somebody else. And her teacher said, no, Kaya. He says, the teachers all voted for you to get that scholarship. And I was so disappointed in myself because I had seen God come through for me so many times. And yet that time I allowed myself to become discouraged. And within 5 minutes, God answered, the prayers. And so nobody can tell me that's not a miracle, because my daughter is a practicing Adventist. My daughter is very strong in her faith, and she's very dedicated to the things of God. And she did not attend one program at St. John's. She did not get in any club or anything. Every weekend she was home, so based on what? God opened that door for the teachers to see that she's an amazing and deserving student. She didn't have the highest GPA. There were her best friend, one of her best friends had a 4.0 GPA. She was deserving of that scholarship. She was an amazing student, but yet God gave it to my daughter. So, and there's so many other miracles. Miracles continue to happen in my life, and I'm just thankful to God, because I know that when we trust Him and when we place our desires and our wants at His feet, He always comes through. My favorite chapter of the Bible is Psalms 37. For me, Psalms 37 has everything you need for any occasion. It doesn't matter what you're going through. Wait on the Lord, not rush ahead of God. It tells me, one of the ones that I cling a lot to, it says, I have been young and now I'm old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken nor his seed begging for bread. The Psalms chapter 37 is my go-to chapter, because Psalms 37 has something for everybody. If you're feeling frustrated, if your enemies are overpowering you, if you feel that people are doing you wrong, Psalms 37 has something for you. And that is a chapter that I go to, because it really tells you to trust in God, to wait on Him, and He will bring it to pass. He will do for you in His time what He has to do, and you will be blessed, and you will be able to count the blessings.